Hey, everybody, and welcome to IndieQuest, the celebration of the indie and obscure. I am one of your hosts here, Josh, also known as Frantic. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Steve, also known as Blink. How are you?
I'm really good. I've got one ear up to the ceiling. It sounds like the baby went to sleep, so he's, off in slumberland, which means it's time to talk about indie games, which I'm pumped about. I'm extra pumped today, though. Do you want to know why I'm extra pumped today, Josh? I'll give you one guess. One guess.
I don't know. Maybe we have a guest?
Maybe we have a guest. We have our good friend and Polymedia community member, Potomax. Potomax, how you doing?
Hi, welcome. I'm good. Thanks for having me. So the guest was the guest.
It's true. And it's a 2-for-1 because not only are you great to have on, but it also means no Captain Drachma. We finally cut him loose. We said, get out of here.
Yeah,
get out of here.
The perfect episode.
Yeah, definitely. He texted me today. He said that he had a snake in his boot, so that's why he's not here. So,
Yeah. But don't worry, folks. He's not permanently gone. He will continue to be the belle of the ball, the star of the show. He's just off doing some real life, some non-indie game related activities this week. So we had to bring in someone. And there's very few people in the world that can fill those boots, but I think Poto's up to the task.
Yeah, I have big indie feats. So it's gonna work, I hope.
It's true.
Oh. So what I wanted to do at the top here before we bring our indie picks and talk all about that is I wanted to kind of let the audience know a little bit about you, what kind of games that you like and things like that. So there's one big question I have before we start off here.
Yeah.
What's your favorite indie video game of all time?
That's kind of big because there's so many to choose from. But the first one that came to mind is Flippin' Dead by Juicy Beast. I'm trying to plug this game quite a bit in the Discord. So basically what Flippin' Dead is it's like Vampire Survivor before Vampire Survivor. It was done like in 2012. And fun thing, I saw the development of that game because I was doing a live game jam with those guys there. So I tried the game right when it was being made in 48 hours. So that was pretty cool. And what I liked about the game is it's fast. The rounds are short, and I'm kind of good at the game. Like back then, there were leaderboards, and I was at the top of the leaderboard. I actually managed to get a bug that made the game really, really easy. But after like 20 minutes round, so I just played like for 2 hours straight just to get an impossible score to beat. And I like that game, but I like Juicy Beast in general. They're a studio in Montreal, and they're not doing a lot of games anymore, but their most successful game was Burrito Bison. So launch your luchador game on Flash and mobile, and I just like their style. It's arcade games, it's short, it's rewarding, and I just like the gameplay loop is really satisfying to me.
Nice. You must be like a Vlambeer fan too. You must like those games they put out.
Yeah, for sure.
As well.
Sure,
like
yeah.
super like, pick it up, get a high score, and then, put it down after 30 minutes, but you just had an awesome 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly. The arcade experience is really my jam. I'm really into gameplay first games, so I just skip all the dialogue every time. So that's the arcade style is perfect for me.
I like that. You kind of teased everyone there. You said it was part of a game jam. Something that folks may not know about you is that you have developed a handful of games yourself. Is this true?
Yeah, it is true. So I made most of my games. I made them when I was a teenager. I have a weird DeviantArt page with like 2 million views because I made some weird Build-A-Bear game that got. I don't know how they linked the game, but all the views went straight to my DeviantArt page. And so I made a lot of game, but nowadays I do like one game a year, something like that. I'm a programmer in real life, so sometimes squeezing more programming time outside of work is not the thing I enjoy the most. But my last two
Fair.
games, I'm pretty proud of them. Well, actually three. I made an arcade game, which is like an homage to Donkey Kong Jr. from the Game & Watch gallery. You're playing a bee. Just saying, you're playing a bee in a Game & Watch style game. And it's 4 levels, and I made that in 10 days. And it's a bit insane because I crammed like 4 different stage themes, so much pixel art. I did everything myself. It was kind of crazy. I did the 7 segments journey, which is the puzzle game that I made last year in 10 days also, and brought it to Polykill, and I'm trying to turn that into a commercial game. So it has a Steam page. It's called Screen King now, but it's just I don't have much time to work on it, but I'm really hoping to push like 4 worlds of puzzle games. And finally, I did like a NES remake of Larsen Laser memory game on the grid. It's also on my itch page, so all that is free to play on my itch page.
Awesome. I'll link everything down below too in the description. So if you guys are like, wow, that was a lot, look down in the description below and you'll find it.
Yeah, we'll get you over to the Steam page for Screen King and to the itch.io page for Potomax too. Highly recommend checking them. I mean, check out all 3, but the one I can vouch for is 7 segments journey. It's very, very fun. It's also pretty freaking hard. It gets tough at the end, which is good, right? You want a puzzle game that makes you feel a little bit stupid, and definitely, I don't know how you cooked up stuff that tough in 10 days, but you got me.
Thank you. Yeah, those last extra levels, I just put stuff on the screen and hope for the best. And when it worked, it worked. I kept it there.
Yeah, really, really cool. So yeah, everyone go check out the links in the description and make sure that you go give those games some love.
Yeah, definitely. So you love arcade games. So I'm chomping at the bit. Before the episode here, Steve's like, I just always look forward to the guest, what they bring for the quest log. So before we jump into that, if this is your guys' first episode, the quest log is our ever-growing list of indie video games. We have 2 sections to it. The main quest, which is, with a bullet, the best game. It's amazing. It's a wonderful game. Anybody can enjoy it and have a great time. Or we have the side quest, which is still a wonderful game, but maybe there's a caveat. Maybe it's not quite as good as like the best game of all time, but it's still worth playing and it's still worth your time. But yeah, maybe it's a niche title as well. But yeah. So we like to give the guests the opportunity to do theirs first. So are you ready to bring a game to the quest log today?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think I was going to go first, but all right. So I felt like I had a bit of pressure of choosing my game because, like, a bit of my style of games that I play since I post them on the Discord, but especially Steve on Polykill, he says all the trash that I play. So I tried to narrow it down to a couple of points of things that I wanted to bring to the quest log because, I don't know, this may be the only game I ever bring to the quest log, so I might as well make it a Potomax game. So I tried to look for a free game, a game that under 2 hours, 3 hours, and something that just has a lot of style, a bit wacky, a bit weird. So I decided to choose a game by a developer that I like a lot on itch.io. He is called H. Wilson. So he made a game I really like. It's called Devil Bowler Legend of... No, it's Bowling Cross Legend of the Devil Bowler Final Frame, which is like a bowling action RPG. The guy just likes to mash up genres together. So I chose a game called Locust USA. And I'm going to read just the first sentence on the itch page. It says that it's an horror, mystery, exploration, brick breaker with boss fights and 80s references. So that's the thing we're working with today. So it's an adventure breakout game. It released way back. It released 2 years ago in December 2022, and not like 1 year ago. Come on, but yeah. So it's a brick breaking adventure, and the story of the game is basically you're playing a meddling kid. I think it's not clear who you're playing as. It's maybe a detective, maybe a policeman. I'm not sure. It looks like a meddling kid. Like he has a cap all around the back. So I think it's a kid. And you arrive in Locust, USA, and there are just a bunch of mysteries going around, monsters, haunted mansions, and each level, there are 6 levels in the game, and each level is like a little Zelda dungeon that you go around by playing Breakout. So how do you play Breakout in a Zelda dungeon, right? So basically your character, his head becomes a ball, and then in each screen you have 1 to 4 paddles, either on the top and the bottom or the sides. And with left and right, you can control your paddle horizontally, and up and down, you can control your paddles vertically. So you arrive, let's say, the first level is the No Mercy Mall. So basically, in that level, there's a haunted mall with robots. The security robots became haywire, and they started wreaking havoc in the mall. So you go there and try to hack the master robot so the mall becomes a real mall again. So you arrive in the first screen, you're in the mall entrance, you can gain bonuses by destroying the cars going around. You need to destroy the doors to enter the mall, and then once you're in the mall, you need to go around to find different clues to then gain access to the master robot. And then the master robot, you need to beat him by either hacking the robot. So you hack the robot by collecting keys that are around the bus room. Or you can also like skip that step and destroy directly the firewall in front of the master robot and destroy the robot directly. So there's 6 levels. Most of them, you go around, collect clues, you do a bit of navigating, and then you beat a boss. It's either there's an evil car, there's an evil scientist, there's cyborg policeman. So there's a lot of variety. The game looks like an NES game. So the comparison to the first Zelda for the dungeons it's a right one, but the visuals are a bit more upgraded than the first Zelda. It's more like, I don't know, Contra maybe. So it's like maybe one of the later NES games. And the character and your paddles and everything you can interact with is just like a couple of shades of oranges, a bit like, you know, Samus in Metroid. So that's what it reminds me of. And the visually, what I like about the game, there's like a VHS filter, a CRT filter all around the screen, but it's not a distracting CRT filter. It's like kind of subtle with just a bit of graininess, a bit of the different shades of red and blue going around. It just gives a lot of character to the game. It's just not another pixel art NES inspired game. It feels like it goes a bit deeper than that.
Yeah, it even has like a gentle curvature, like a CRT television would have, or like an arcade monitor would have. It's actually really well done. It makes me want to play my Vectrex, honestly. So really, really cool looking.
Yeah, and sometimes like those filters can just go overboard. You can really feel the curve, and it just gives me a headache sometimes. In this one, it's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit now that we're talking about the ambience. The music was not done by H. Wilson. From what I've seen, all the game was done by him. But the music is from a composer called DOS88. And DOS88 does free vaporwave music on YouTube. So it took free music for this game, but with the 80s references, the 80s aesthetic, it works really, really well. I must say that you kind of forget the music. It fits so well that it's just kind of the ambience of the 80s as you go around those levels. I had to like turn off the sound effects just to really get the music and say, yeah, it's really, really good. But it's good vaporwave music, but it's more ambience than like it's fun to listen to. But during the game, you won't really remember the different tracks. The game is pretty easy, I would say. So the main mechanics of the game, I said, is going around and beating the bosses. But you have like 3 to 4 lives to beat the level, and each level you can collect points, but there's no high scores in the game. So basically, when you get more score, you have a gauge that goes up, and when it's full, you gain a life. So that's something that was kind of disappointing to me, because there's like no incentive to go for like 100% in the game. You just need to beat the level, and if you do everything, beating the level will be easier. But there's no like checklist to collect all the Locust letters, find the bonus, the hidden bonus mission in the level. So I would have liked something like that. But the levels are really, really nice. I want to highlight a couple features of the levels. Like in the second level, there's a secret wall that you can break to get a heart. So there's an incentive to explore around. In the third level, there's like a wacky wrecking ball in the middle of the screen, and every time you hit it, and it goes all around the screen. In the fifth level, there's a secret forest maze like Mario RPG section where you need to figure out in which order to continue. And you might say, trying to go around a Forest of Illusion maze using paddles and a ball, does it get tricky? I would say that game is really easy to control, because at any time you can enter in focus mode, they call. So when you're in focus mode, you go really, really slow. But if you hit the focus mode button while the ball hits your paddle, then the ball will get stuck to the paddle, and then you can see where the ball will go, and you can adjust your where you want to let your ball go. So at any time you can take control of your ball and make it hit whatever is left in the level. I try to not use it too often, because I think it kind of breaks the point of playing a brick breaker
game.
Yeah.
But for those few last enemies, those last bricks, it can be really, really useful. Yeah. So that's kind of the whole experience. It's quite a simple game. You go around, you play brick breakers in short levels. One thing that I want to say before you might have some questions is that the fifth level has a secret ending. So there's a good ending and a bad ending. So in the fifth level, it's you're trying to stop a demon that has been summoned and is eating teens. So there are scientists just sacrificing teens in the basement of the mansion. And the demon walks to one teen, devours it, and then goes to the other teen and devours the second teen. If you don't kill the boss before he eats both teens, you get the bad ending. And if you manage to save one of the kids, you get the good ending. So normally I was like, yeah, but what if you save both kids? So I tried like 15 times. The time between the start of the boss and the boss eating the first kid is really, really short. So I tried like 15 times, and with a bit of luck, a bit of strategy, I managed to kill the boss before he eat he's eaten any kid, and there's no secret ending. There's no super ending for solving both kids. So I've done that. I've done that for research, but I would consider that like the 100% achievement. That was kind of fun to try to do, but yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I think it's kind of a bit rough around the edges. Like it's a free game, but I think there's many ways they could push this idea forward and turn this in like a full complete package.
I can definitely verify that you did that and that you played this game, because you can see on the itch page you leaving a comment being like, I'm trying to save both these kids. Is there anything? Yeah. Is there a reason to do it? And then later you follow up and you're like, never mind, I did it.
I've got the receipts.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Honestly, just like conceptually, I would imagine there's probably other folks that have done something kind of similar before, but the idea of combining like a Brick Breaker Breakout with sort of a Zelda like dungeon style game, it's pretty freaking smart. It reminds me of Yoku's Island Express, where it was like gated exploration meets pinball, but like like another twist on that.
Yeah, from what I've seen on the itch page, the guy was inspired by another guy making like exactly that gated exploration breaker called I don't see the name right now, but
looks like the Trial of Carzoid.
Yeah, so the Trial of Carzoid. So that is supposedly coming for the NES, like maybe this year. So if you like the genre, you like my pick, there will be more coming soon in this famous breakout adventure genre.
Hey, I would not be upset to see that hit the mainstream. Okay, that's pretty freaking awesome. Sorry if I missed if you mentioned it. Roughly how long did it take you to get through?
Yeah, without the super ending, it took me about an hour. With the super ending, it took me like maybe another hour just try to do the saving both things achievement.
Yeah,
nice. Doubled the playtime for it. Wow. I mean, for free, it's really hard to argue. I mean, I encourage everyone, go check it out, Locust USA on Twitch. It looks really freaking good. Like, if this is one of the things where if someone, if like a limited run sold this as like a homebrew on NES, I think bunches of people would snatch it up. Like, it looks like well made, and I like the style of it.
That's the thing going for like this dev in general. He has a lot of style and a lot of creativity, but just the style is just really consistent and it's just engaging. You see those screenshots and it's like, yeah, that looks so freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's very stunning art style. So my question is not directly about the game. It's just, how do you find things on itch that you're interested in and like creators on itch? Because it's so daunting out there. What do you I mean, obviously you know a lot of the smaller games in there, on that platform. So what's your method on trying to find something?
Yeah, I think it's the easiest way to go about it is to see the game jams happening and see maybe like the top 20, the top 10, see the winners and the games that interest you. So those games, if the developers are capable of making like award-winning games in such a short amount of time, they surely have more ambitious and more better projects on their itch page. So most of the games that I find is either directly on the front page of itch, developers that I've saw the game jam games go around, and just like people I talk to on Discord or Twitter, I see stuff around, I go check their itch page, and then I add them to my feed. So I see when they you see when people release game, but you also see if people rate games or comment games. You can see the activity of other people. So the more people you follow, the more recommendations you will naturally get from people just playing and rating stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, it's just it just naturally finds stuff. And I know we have a show just about discovering games, so that's always cool to say, hey, maybe try this out, try this new platform you haven't tried before.
Yeah. I think itch has a like creation and friends platform, like a social network. It's kind of nice. It's actually nice.
When I was saying I was excited for you to bring a pick, this is exactly why. We've joked about it before, but over on Polykill, which is how we knew each other, I was just saying to you that you've never played a game that I've heard of. Like in my entire life, of anyone out there, Potomax never sends in a beat tweet for like, oh yeah, I played Yakuza 3 or something like that. It's like, it is always something like this. It is like genuinely the most indie of indie. So I think it's a really cool pick.
Yeah, well, to be honest, like before listening to Polykill, I had no idea what an Alan Wake was. So I'm really in my own bubble of not knowing the popular stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. Love that. So,
yeah.
Well, then, I mean, it all comes down to where do you want to place it on the quest log?
Yeah, well, for me, I think there's just one place for this game, and I think it's on the side quest. Like, it's freaking great. I really, really like my time with it, but I think it's not as complete of a game to be on the main quest. Like, if it had an arcade mode to go through all the levels with one set of lives, if it had collectathon elements, maybe a bit more levels, it's just missing some stuff to make it a main quest. Like, I had a blast playing that for an hour, but to me, it's on the verge of being like a mini game at this point. But it's really polished.
Right.
It's really fun. It looks good. It sounds good. It's a really, really nice time. But I would like maybe 3 times more stuff on this game to call it like a main quest game.
Yeah, I think that
Nothing wrong with a cozy side quest, though, right? You know,
every time we put something on the side quest, I'm almost defensive of it, where I'm always like, okay, the side quest is still a great spot to live. The fact that you got brought to the show is already a seal of approval, so no concerns there. Plus, you know, there's extra pressure for a guest to put something on the main quest. They got to really feel like they can sell it, so I understand. But and really, really cool game.
It's a perfect Potomax game, so if the perfect Potomax game, can it really be a main quest game? Like, is that compatible? Who knows?
It is true. When I was pulling the B tweets, I would, without even seeing who sent the tweet at all, I would see the screenshots and I'd be like, oh, all right, he's up to it again. Awesome. Good pick. Awesome. Well, all right, so folks, just a reminder, that was Locust USA is the name of that game. And you can find it on itch.io it's actually hwilson.itch.io if you want to go check it out.
Wilson. Thanks for the summary.
Cool. Love it. Josh, you want me to go next or you want to go next? How anxious are you?
I think everybody already figured out what I'm bringing if you're on Discord anyway. So
did they? I might have missed it. I'm not very up to date. If I was going off of what I see in Discord, you'd be bringing Final Fantasy 16.
How excited are you? You know what? Potomax, who should go next?
Oh my god, so much pressure on poor Potomax.
Oh shit!
I know. I made him go first, and now I'm making him pick.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, I'm gonna pick Josh. I'm gonna make Steve wait a bit, closing the
the
IndieQuest sandwich.
I like that.
All right. Well, I'm bringing in a game today that's all the rage right now, I'll say. Have you guys heard of Balatro?
Oh, yeah. I should have known this is what you're going to bring.
It's the perfect whiplash from my game.
Yeah. So, Balatro. It's a roguelike deck builder. I think that's the first time I've said that on Roguelike Deck Builder Cast, so we're rebranding now.
Drachman is sitting wherever he's sitting right now, fuming. He's like, how dare you steal my move?
So it's a poker game, but you're played by yourself. And I actually want to talk about the presentation a little bit. It looks kind of like I would say early 2000s PC game. I think that's kind of intentional. It has the CRT scan lines. It kind of reminds me of playing solitaire on my grandmother's PC back in the day, you know, that vibe a little bit, but obviously with a modern flair, with modern animations and things. The main thing you're trying to do is basically make score multiplayers in this game. You have a basic 52 deck of cards. You're trying to make poker hands, you know, straights, runs, straights, flushes, you know, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 2 of a kind, pair, double pair, all that stuff. And the twist on this game, it has foil packs and jokers that add special multipliers to your hand. So say I join a game and there are 3 blinds per round and there are 8 rounds. So there are 24 hands basically total that you have to get through to quote unquote beat a run. So you start off with easy 300 points. So let's say I do 2 pairs and do that twice, and then the number of the card plus like a multiplayer, depending on what hand you play, will add up the points. And I know this game starts to be hard to a little complicated to explain, but that's okay.
That's poker,
it's a little bit like
right?
trying to explain the rules of like poker or bridge to someone.
Poker,
it's like,
right?
It's once you get into it, it's easy enough, but it is hard to like lay out the rules in a way that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. So the blinds are basically the points escalate, and then you have jokers that. Okay, let's do an example. Like you'll have a joker that you'll get a ×8 multiplier if you do 2 pairs, right, per hand. So you're trying to basically make a build based off the jokers that you get throughout the run. So a good example I had was I had a joker that destroyed other jokers that had another joker that was generating jokers. And then as the jokers get eaten, it makes that multiplier go up. So it's really cool. It's kind of made its own little system going in. And I had like a ×55 or ×60 by the time I got to like blind 4, And it's pretty much just trying to... It's a little random at times because, it's kind of like any roguelike. You're getting random items and you're trying to roll with the punches of each of these things. There are other things that can level up like the actual sets. So say you can, they're called like celestials, I think, or like planetoids. Basically, like there's Mars, Mercury, Earth. Each of those will level up like, let's just say pairs from like blank chips ×2 to like 20 chips ×4. It just goes up each level, and then you can like level up different types of card combinations too. And it's pretty much to the point where it's almost like you're playing the lottery. Like you get to the point where there's just so many multipliers going off and so many things popping off in your face. You're just like, you feel like you're a genius by the time you get to like that final, especially when you're getting to like the final and you're like, okay, I think I got it. I'm doing straights this time, and I have 1, 2, and 3. They have a multiplier, and then I have the special card that I leveled up, which you can get like Arcana bonuses to level up the cards and like give you more multipliers too. So it's kind of like you're just stacking stuff on top of itself, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got very addicted to this game. So it's one of those you can just do like one more run for sure.
Is it?
So have you guys even... Go ahead.
No, I haven't checked it out yet. I'm specifically not checking it out because I know, to admit that I don't only play indie games. I know that the Final Fantasy VII Remake sequel is about to come out in like 2 days is the time we record this. And I know I'm going to play that. So I'm like, all right, I got Balatro slotted in for after that game is done, sometime in like March or maybe April that I'll check it out. But it's really hard not to because of all of the like hype that has been going around for this game. And I have to ask, because I've seen like a couple people beat it now, how hard is it to get like a successful winning run? Because when I think of a roguelike, I think of like it being very difficult until you've at least unlocked some sort of meta progression or until you really like are intimately familiar with the systems in place. Is that the case here, or is it like pretty easy to like get a win?
I would say like the average time to win would probably be around 4 to 6 hours, depending on your luck, the luck of the draw, because like you probably will need to play a few hands. I would say you probably need to play like 3 or 4 hands, and I would say a run, if you get pretty far, it can go up to about an hour.
Okay,
45 minutes to an hour. So let's just say you play like 5 hands or so, you're probably going to get a win if you kind of figure out like a build that works for you. And sometimes you start a build and like you'll just completely fail in like 3 like just turns, because like you just not drawing anything and nothing's building to the points that you want, just like any other roguelike. You just kind of fail early on, then you got to restart, but I would say like if you start getting the cards you want, so like basically between each turn there's a shop. So if you just like don't really discard much, you can discard part of your hand to build your hand back up. You start with 3 draws and 3 discards per turn. And of course you can get jokers to get you more hands, or there's special decks that have different abilities too. So like you can get like a green deck that will give you a little bit more money for the shop each round, or you get like the red deck that gives you 1 more discard per round, things like that. So basically you're trying to do it in those parameters of 3 and 3. And then if you just say you somehow get the points in one hand, that will actually build a little bit more money. You get maybe like $10 to $12 per round, and then you can like purchase things from the shop, like those upgrades like I was talking about, like the Arcana and things like that. And sometimes you just get a really lousy shop for what you're dealing with. So say, my whole build's around straights. I'm trying to like get, straights for my win here, but all I'm getting in the shop the last 2 times is stuff for pairs. That's not going to do me any good here, Yeah. But sometimes it just works out for you, and I actually feels kind of like it's a completely different game, but it feels like Binding of Isaac, where it's like you start building up your multiplayers in that game in different ways, obviously, because it's a top-down shooter, but it feels, the randomness feels a lot like that game to me, because it's like, you never know what you're going to get, but when you get that special build and the points are going up, you're like, you feel just amazing, so.
And that's why I was curious about like what the meta progression from run to run looks like, because there's kind of 2 different types of roguelikes. There's the ones where like a skilled player or a lucky player could come in, run 1, and they could get the W. They could succeed. But then there's other ones where like you're sort of pretty much guaranteed to fail for a few runs while you like build up some sort of progression or character or stats or something that gives you an edge enough to eventually like start winning more than you lose. So what does that look like from run to run?
Yeah, run to run, you basically build up a joker pool. So say, I think you only start out with a handful of them. I think maybe 10 or something. And I think there's 120-ish, don't quote me on that. It's more than 100 that you can unlock. So if you do certain parameters in the game itself, so say it's like do 10 pairs, I think there's a joker that'll unlock, and then you just basically start unlocking different jokers that have different effects, and then that will help you on later runs, basically. So that's basically the progression. Usually you're unlocking jokers, and then you're unlocking other decks that you can use, like I said, that have special effects or special moves. Basically, there's one that has like no face cards. So it's like, okay, let's try this run. This is kind of a challenging run, because like the face cards are all 10 or 11 points depending, right? And it's like, yeah, I'm trying to build up 6,000 points with 2 and 3 and 4 cards, you know what I mean? So yeah, so it's basically make your own challenge at some point too.
And what's the ambience? Is there any music? And why are you playing those poker games? Is it just poker game for poker game, or is there a story or anything?
As far as I can tell, there isn't much of a story really. There's like a little joker that will like talk crap to you if you lose. Is like, good luck next time, and stuff like that. Has a little word bubble that pops up. There is some music that's playing, and it's very catchy. It's the same song over and over again, but it's like so catchy that you get it like stuck in your head. You'll be walking around, sweeping your house or whatever, and it'll be in the back of your head, type of earworm type of song. And the sound effects are all really good. Like you have the chip sounds, and then like the level up sounds and the multiplayer sounds. Everything sounds so nice. It's crispy, and it just feels good to play.
Is it like real casino sounds, or it's more like a chip tune or What kind of sounds do you remember?
I'm trying to think. It's like, I don't think it's really chiptune-y. It does sound kind of like a casino-ish, but it has its own vibe to it, I would say. But it's not very like lo-fi, I wouldn't say.
There's few things more satisfying than a good card sound, like a good of like dealing cards or like that of shuffling cards. Very, very tasty.
They have all that, and then like the little like multiplayer sounds have like a little pingy sound, ding 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 ding, you know, and it just sounds like you're just racking up more points, more and more points. And I mean, it's not really a spoiler or anything. Like if you get a run, like you have the option to go back to the main menu and just like collect the jokers that you earned in that run and things, or you can go in endless mode and just see how far you can make it on that build. So say you get to the final ante, you know, like you get the 100,000 points is the last one you got to get. So say you get that and you quote unquote win the run, it'll say you win. But would you like to try endless mode? And you can just keep going until like I've seen people get like basically, you know how you get a calculator that has like E to 27 at the end, how big the numbers get. I've seen that in this game for poker hands, so it's pretty cool.
There you go. Start to get into that like cookie clicker math at some point.
Right, exactly, yeah. And it's like if you watch some of those runs, it's just like there's so many multipliers going off. It's like going in because it like speeds up the more multipliers there are. So it's like like you just like, you know, looks like a slot machine. It's pretty cool.
I'm just happy for this team that this game took off in such a big way and like caught such a wave of momentum. I think mostly from the Steam Next Fest demo seems to be where like a lot of people found out about it, because I don't envy them having to market the game, right? Like how do you like show off your game on social media when screenshots of your game is just playing cards? It's just face cards. It
just looks like poker. Yeah.
It's like there's nothing like particularly flashy about it. It looks nice, but like there's no edge that other, you know, like roguelike card games. Like you see a screenshot of Inscription and in an instant you kind of know the vibe and you're like, oh, I want to know more about that. And here you just see the 8 of spades and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, sometimes those devs they push like GIFs on Twitter and stuff, and it just look exactly the same from screenshot to screenshot. So it's quite the luck that it took off by its own.
Yeah, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I was actually like, oh man, I discovered this game from a podcast. This sounds awesome. I'm going to play it. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. It's such a secret. No one's going to know about it. And then it just started, like, I literally went in the Discord and I was like, man, I'm so excited to talk about this game because it's so unlike games I usually bring to IndieQuest, you know? And then Ross is like, is it Balatro? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's something, I promise it's not.
Something different. Fun fact, I was going to ask you this, but then I just looked it up. Balatro is Latin for clown or fool, so it's a play on the word Joker.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Indeed.
Well, this game is just fun. Like honestly, it's a really easy pick up and play a run. It's perfect for handheld. I think it's on Switch. I'm pretty sure. I saw Elite MYT playing it, so it's definitely on Switch. And but yeah, so it's perfect for that. Like I have 45 minutes or so. Honestly, if you have 10 minutes, you can probably start or run. It'll save your spot. So it's like, oh, I got 10 minutes. I'll play a few hands of this, and then you go back to it. And it's just really fun to play in between bigger things. I think I've put like maybe 6 hours in, and I don't plan to stop. I want to keep unlocking more and seeing what more the game has to offer and what new challenges it has in store, even though I quote unquote beat it a couple times. But I honestly, the fun of it is just trying out new hands and new combos and things, seeing what you can do, you know?
Yeah. You make me want to get around to it sooner rather than later. Maybe I'll try squeezing in.
That sounds like
honestly, I think, yeah, I would think that you just grab it and throw it on your stream and just do like one stream, and I think you'd get the Balatro feel for it, and then you'd be like, okay, that game's there, I can play it later. I think that'd be a fun Steve stream.
See what this is, Potomax? It's him trying to bait a bingo square out of me. He's trying to be like, oh well, I'm already playing it. Maybe if you played it on stream.
Yeah, you can put it on all the squares, the Indie squares, the Steve square.
Exactly.
I'm on to you.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, where are you gonna put it, man? Where's it going?
Honestly, first couple of hands on this, and I was like, oh, this is probably a cool side quest game. But the more it got its hooks into me, it actually edged its way to a main quest for me. I think anybody who has even a passing interest in card games at all, even if you're not even a big card game fan, you'll probably find some fun in this. If you just like just learning, even if you're not even a poker fan, you're probably going to have some fun with Balatro. I think it's pretty much anybody could pick it up and have a good time. So definitely highly recommended, and it's a big surprise. It's probably going to be like one I talk about at the end of the year, at least so far. You know, like it's one of my favorite games I've played so far this year. So really fun.
I just want to say thank you for that free SEO for the show. While everyone's hyped about Balatro, now we can throw that in there and welcome in new Balatro listeners. We're happy to have you.
Yeah. Well, Steve, it's your turn. What'd you bring today? You were saying that you brought a banger today. So what is it?
I did bring.
I'm excited.
I did bring a banger. I'm excited for it. You know, it might be a little too popular for someone like Potomax to play, but I'm still excited to talk about it. I brought a gated exploration game today called Ultros. Have either of you seen or heard of Ultros before? Other than, I guess, maybe me mentioning it on Polykill.
I've seen some screenshots, but like I'm fully blind behind that.
All right.
Yeah, I think it was like a Day of the Devs or something. I've seen trailers. I know it looks awesome, so I'm excited to hear more about it than what you've said on Polykill, because I know you mentioned it in passing. You're like, oh, I'm working on this, I'm grinding on this, but I'm really excited to hear more about it.
I definitely was grinding on it. I put like 35 hours into this game over the course of a week and a half, which is more game time than my days actually have available in them at this point. But somehow we used some lunch breaks and things. We got creative because I was really feeling it. So Ultros is developed by a studio called Hadoque or Hadoque. I'm not sure. It's Hodoque. And it's published by Kepler Interactive. It released this year. It's a 2024 game. It released just a week or two ago, February 13th. And you can play it on PC, Mac, and PlayStation 4 or 5. And I played it on the PlayStation 5 version. Ran great. Well, there were a couple bugs, but I wouldn't really point them out or care about them too much. It's just kind of the nature of a studio's first game. Mm-hmm. Playing for 35 hours, I'm bound to run into something. But it is, as I mentioned, it is a gated exploration game. You wake up and the game doesn't really give you any context, any story, any understanding of the world. And you wake up on this mysterious, like bright, colorful space station that the game refers to as the sarcophagus. And that is going to be your map, your dungeon that you're exploring as you run around. And it is, no exaggeration, one of the best looking, like most visually striking maps, environments that I've ever seen. It is so like almost overwhelmingly colorful. Like there's so many bright neon, like pinks and greens and all sorts of stuff. And it's so dense with like plant life and foliage and rundown machinery and things. It actually almost can be a little bit overwhelming to process sometimes. Like as you're moving around, it can be like, this is like too much visual stimulation. Sometimes this feels like I'm insulting the game, but it's just like one of the closest touch points I can think of. Sometimes it feels like one of those like very detailed like adult coloring books that are just like a lot of like swirly kind of almost like henna tattoo style patterns and things like that. But it is all like tangible things that exist in the world. It is a space station overrun with plant life and vegetation.
To me, it looks like if somebody turned on a black light inside somebody who like overly decorated their room for black light.
Yeah.
Does that make sense at all? Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. Yes. I totally get that. It is a lot, but in a good way, a really good way, actually. And then on top of that, it's already like one of the most bright and colorful games that you've ever seen. They also do a lot of post-processing on top of it. So there's a little bit of like chromatic aberration, like little color distortion. There's a little bit of like vignette where the outsides are blurred on the screen. And then they also do some like color adjustment filters and stuff too. So it not only looks intense, but then it also like has this set of filters that make focusing on it like even more of a thing, like a capital T thing. And if that is not like your jam, or if a lot of post-processing overwhelms you or give you headaches, stuff like that, you can turn pretty much all that stuff off in the options menu. They have pretty good like accessibility, visual type functional menus. So that's pretty cool. I ended up playing with most of that stuff turned on for most of the game though. But anyways, you wake up, you're on the space station, you start running around, you can't really do anything. All you can do is you can jump. That's about it. And you start exploring this world. You'll run across a couple of different characters here and there. And pretty shortly into the game, you'll find this, I'll just say a character that has a sword, and you pick up the sword, and it kind of fills your map with the objectives that you're going to go out and find. And they're all over the place. Like you can see sort of like the distance to these objects before you ever actually get there. So kind of from like the first 10 minutes, you understand sort of the full scope of the game, which is kind of interesting, right? Because usually, you think of a more traditional gated exploration game, you kind of run through one area, you'll fight a boss, and, some door will be locked or some MacGuffin or something will happen. And they'll be like, oh, now you got to go over to the lava area because you're going to need the power boots from the lava area to be able to progress through here. This is a little different where they sort of set out everything initially. Like, here's all your objectives for the entirety of the game. Go to them. And they don't really give you any context. And the game just has this very subtle hand that guides you towards the objectives in a way that it was one of those games where I always felt lost, but I always ended up in the right place. So I constantly was feeling like, I don't know, I think I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm doing, but for whatever reason, even though, there was a bunch of places where I could have gone in 3 different directions, I always seemed to end up where I needed to be. So either I got really lucky, or again, the subtle game designer's hand is nudging me or encouraging me to go to the right place without me really even realizing what's happening. It is, I know this is the hot discourse right now. It's not a yellow paint situation on ledges and things like that. It is much more tactfully and tastefully done than that, to the point where I couldn't even tell you what they do. I don't even know that I didn't just get lucky. But gated exploration game, it's going to have combat. You will come across these different creatures and monsters in the sarcophagus, and the game has a really interesting system where you have different attacks, different combos. You kind of have like a basic 3-hit combo. You have a dodge roll. You have a counter attack from that dodge roll, and then there's different attacks depending on like if you're in midair when you attack. A number of different attacks, and you can unlock more as you play through. But the game has, I don't even know what they call the system, but they reward you for defeating enemies without reusing the same attack more than once. So it encourages you to use like your entire toolkit. Normally in a game like this, you'd run up and you just kind of like have the thing you're good at. You just hit them with the 3-hit combo, dodge, hit them with the 3-hit combo, dodge, etc. But if you can kill them without ever repeating a move twice, using 5, 6, 7 different types of moves, the monster will drop like kind of a premium version of the item that they were going to drop. They drop body parts. So you run up to this sort of like crab-like creature. If I just mash the attack button and don't really think about what I'm doing, I'll get like a battered piece of crab, or maybe even the game will just say like, here's an indistinguishable bloody pile of pulp. But if I do it perfectly, I'll get like a really pristine, nice piece of crab. And you use that food to heal yourself, but then there's also like another system in place where when you consume the parts of monsters, you gain nutrients, and there's like I think 4 different types of nutrients that are labeled different things, and different monster parts will give you different, they'll kind of specialize in different nutrients and things like that. As you eat those and fill up certain like nutrient levels, you can use those to trade in at what they call the cortex, which is basically your skill tree, to get new upgrades. And so that is sort of like your basic typical upgrades, like deal more damage, gain more health. And then you'll also get more attack types, so you can unlock new moves, which are great to unlock because it means that you can have more variety and get those better parts easier. And also some sort of like more exploration, discovery focused things that I won't really get into. But it's kind of an interesting system because sort of sphere grid from Final Fantasy X in a way. It's not a linear choice of what you can do. You start in the center of this cortex grid and you have like 3 options around you, really basic stuff that you're going to use. When you unlock one of those with whatever nutrients you have, it will then let you unlock the 2 or 3 skills that branch out from that. And so you can kind of customize your character in any direction, but there's some strategy in choosing which of those abilities to unlock because they'll give you access to unlock other abilities, basically. So I liked it because it's not it forced variety, but it's also not that combat focused of a game. It's much more focused on the exploration that I'll get to in a minute. So it's kind of like you can almost pick and choose when you want to get into a fight. Like, when do I feel like I need healing items? When do I feel like I need more nutrients? And it adds variety in a way that other gated explorations wouldn't necessarily have. But the sort of crux of the exploration here, and I'm actually going to break this into sort of multiple sections. I won't bury the lead. I will say I recommend that everyone play Ultros. So I'm going to give you sort of an overview, and then I'm going to give you like a little mini spoiler warning. It's not going to be full spoilers. Just like if what I've said to this point sounds cool, dip out, go play it. If not, I'll give you a little bit more on the plate, and then at the end, I'll give you a little bit more. I'm not going to go full spoilers even in that second round, but I kind of want to just layer stuff for people based on their interest level. But the core of the game is as you're running around, you will find seeds scattered everywhere. Again, it's a very like plant-focused, vegetation-focused environment. And you'll be able to take these seeds and you'll find spread throughout the world certain places where you can plant those seeds. And different seeds will grow into different plants that have various effects. So like the very obvious, very basic sort of first plant that you're going to find is a plant that when you plant it and when it grows, it makes a tree that creates basically a platform on the top of it. So there's an area that's too high to get to. You plant that tree. Now you have an extra platform to get up there. You can navigate further. But there's hundreds of spots to plant these seeds, and the puzzles are almost never as direct as that. In fact, there's not even really puzzles. It's not like you walk into a room and you're like, oh, I see what they want. I need this type of seed to get there. The seeds and the plants are so like varied and unique that you end up almost like freestyle using them in weird ways where you constantly feel like you're kind of getting one over on the game, where you're like, that's not what they wanted. Like I kind of forced my way in there by kind of cheesing it with this plant or that plant. But obviously they thought of it because, again, like I said, I always ended up going the right way and I never got myself into a sticky situation. So yeah, it's a big focus on finding and planting those seeds as you explore the world. And then you'll also, of course, you'll come across other characters that are on the sarcophagus as well. They all sort of have their own motivations. Some of them hostile, some of them friendly, some of them kind of a mixture of both, depending on when and how you engage with them. Pretty interesting mix of characters. All the writing is very poetic. Sounds like a little pretentious, but it's like it is written to be sort of like almost like translated Latin or something. Like it's written in kind of like a highbrow way. I don't really know how to describe it without being condescending, but it's an interesting writing style. I like the way that they do it. So yeah, all that to say, really fun game. Highly recommend it. But I am going to now get into sort of the first round of spoilers. So if to this point, if you already plan on playing Ultros, or if what I said was intriguing enough, or you looked up screenshots, you're like, yeah, this looks cool. See ya. Come back later. You can hear me talk about these parts another time. But if you're still like, I'm on the fence, I'll give you a little bit more of the mechanics. And the reason I'm doing it this way is I think the biggest strength of this game is discovery, is finding out how things work and systems in the world. So I'm going to give you like the first 10% of that to kind of get the hook in. But so as you'll explore, again, spoilers happening. As you explore, one of the early things you'll find is this tool called the excavator. And that is sort of all of your upgrades in one, but you'll obviously unlock functionality for it as you go. The basic thing it lets you do is double jump, but a lot of what you'll find is tools that will let you interact with the plants in the world. So again, I won't spoil what all of those are, but there's some basic functions that you can imagine you'll unlock fairly early-ish. Like you'll be able to dig seeds out that you've already planted to replant them elsewhere, or trim plants in various ways to sort of guide their growth, things like that. And the reason that excavator is kind of important is because that, coupled with the seeds that you find, is like the entirety of how you're going to navigate the world. Because the big other thing that, again, this is not really supposed to be a surprise. I think they even put this on the back of the box in the physical copy that I have. But there is kind of a pseudo roguelike time loop mechanic to this game. So when you reach one of these objectives that you're trying to find, you're trying to sort of get to these specific places. When you reach one of those objectives, the game will reset and you will wake back up the exact same place that you woke up again. You won't have your excavator anymore. You won't have anything. You don't really know what happened. There's not much context for it. You can venture back to get your excavator. You can get your upgrade back pretty quickly. Importantly, some time has passed in that loop. And so seeds that you planted and plants that started growing in the previous loop now have fully flowered and have added context, added mechanics. So there's a little bit of planning to, I'm going to want to go here. I'm going to plant this seed here. When the loop resets, I will then be able to explore in that direction. And sometimes the game guides you on that.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was one of my questions. It seemed a bit tedious, waiting for the flowers to grow and everything, but yeah, it's built in the loop mechanic.
Yeah, the actual flower, itself, when you plant the seed, it'll grow in 10 seconds, but after that loop resets, it'll be an entirely different plant. And so, and I say pseudo roguelike because it kind of has when it first happens, you almost feel like it's going to be a roguelike where you're like, oh, did that run end and I need to start all the way over? But no, I would liken it more to the time loop mechanic in Outer Wilds almost.
That's what I was thinking. I was it reminds me of the found information, the panel inside the ship in the Outer Wilds, where it's you find more information to basically keep exploring different paths and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't, obviously, Outer Wilds fully resets the state of the entire world other than that exploration map. Obviously, some elements of the world are retained and things like that. But importantly, your skills are reset entirely. So all those nutrients you ate and those skills you unlocked, they're completely reset. But as you explore around, you'll find these sort of brain-like items, and you can use one of those brain-like items to lock a skill in place and keep it through the loops. So that's fun because, one, you can kind of choose the stuff you care the most about, but also because of the way I said that it's a spider web where different skills become available from unlocking previous skills. Sometimes you'll want to lock in a skill that you actually don't care that much about because the 3 that connect to it are really good, and you're going to want to be able to access those early in your next loop. So it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy that sort of almost roguelike-y part of it. But all right, I'll give you kind of the second spoiler warning. Again, I'm not going to spoil the whole game, so don't be worried about that. But there is one other thing that I want to point to, and you just have to know to dip now if you want to dip. So that's the basic setup and kind of the early discovery of the game. The last thing I want to say is that it reminds me a lot of some of my favorite games. It has the same design ethos as something like in Outer Wilds or a Tunic or The Witness, where your understanding of the world that you're exploring changes over the course of the game. Now, I know it's not as direct as in Tunic, where it's there's I don't know, I guess I shouldn't spoil Tunic. It's not as direct as something like that. But as you progress through the game, you will discover things about this place, and it will recontextualize a lot of things that have been sort of hiding in plain sight, which is one of my favorite tricks that a game designer can do, is have put pieces in front of you the whole time that you just didn't process or think of, and then once they breadcrumb you to the knowledge or the information that you need, suddenly you're like, oh my God, like this is an entirely different game than the game that I thought it was. What I'm doing is like peanuts compared to what I thought it was. And I think that is so much fun. I won't spoil it, kind of like our Inscription thing. I'm not going to tell you what's happening. And it's not exactly like those other games. So don't be like, if you've played The Witness, don't be thinking The Witness and be like, I know what type of trick he's referring to. It's not one-to-one there. It's much more in the spirit of those games than anything else. So I don't think that you would guess what this is, but by the end of this game, as a result of some of the tricks that this game has, or the things that the game reveals to you, I felt like I was so much more connected to this game's map and this world more than any other gated exploration game I've played before. Like something like a Super Metroid or a Hollow Knight, areas exist to kind of shuffle you between places and, give you some shortcuts. There's bosses. But by the end of Ultros, I was sort of processing the entire map at once because I needed to hold that information and understand how to navigate it in this very unique way that I've never seen anywhere else, which is such a tease. It's so vague. It's one of the hardest parts about bringing a game like this. I understand that, but I really do want folks, if they're interested in this game, to have that moment. And it's not just like one dramatic reveal, but I want folks to like have that big smile on their face as they like sort of understand the true nature of Ultros, because that is what makes it such like a special, fun experience.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's like catnip for me right there, man. You made me so sold, like I'm playing Prince of Persia right now, and I'm like, damn, I'm just really into Metroidvania. Like I'm just itching for more the more I play this one. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's moving up a couple notches to a must play for me here.
I was actually talking about that in another Discord, and I would say we're eating so good, dude. For gated explorations in 2024, we're eating so good. Prince of Persia is like the gated exploration game that you play if you want mechanics first and vibes second. Ultros is the one you play if you want vibes first, mechanics second. It is like vibes the game.
Nice.
Yeah. That's all. That's as much as I can sell Ultros to you all. Any other lingering questions that either of you have before I put it on the quest log?
How many loops did you need to beat the game?
So there's the map shows you 7 different of those characters, and every time you beat one of them, you go through a loop. So you'll through the 8th loop, you'll eventually hit where you need to.
Okay.
That I will just again tease people, and I will say that process takes about 10 hours. And if you recall at the beginning of this, I said I put 35 hours into this game in a week and a half. So there's 25 hours of stuff I'm not telling you or stuff that I'm teasing you about that you just have to play to find out for yourself.
Okay. I'm good with that. One lingering question I had was, how's the music? Because you said it's all about vibes. You never mentioned the music here.
I completely missed that. Thank you for reminding me. It's incredible soundtrack. Definitely my soundtrack of 2024. It's by someone named Rat Vader, who I was not familiar with before. It's very, very ambient, very electronic, but I'd swear that Rat Vader was taking inspiration from a bunch of games I love. Like, if you like the Citizen Sleeper soundtrack, there's kind of a similar energy to that. 100%. There's a couple tracks where I was like, this feels like Outer Wilds music, like for sure. There's even some tracks where I'm like, this feels like Shadow of the Beast from back on like the PC Engine. So really good variety. I've listened to the soundtrack a bunch of times outside of the game, which is always the highest compliment. There's even, I think, on YouTube, there's a video that's like a soundtrack sampler, which is like a little bit of a handful of tracks from the game that the composer put out. And that's like a perfect way to get a feel for what the music is like. And sound design is really good too. But 100%, I can pretty much guarantee you that a song from this game is coming to the next IQ OST.
Awesome.
Sweet.
I mean, is there any doubt in your mind where I'm going to put this game?
It's a side quest, right?
No, it's not a side
just
quest.
above Guacamelee, right?
Right.
Just,
yeah.
Just a.
It's
just
kind of
a
tired.
hair-
It's kind of like edging
hair
out.
above
It's like
it,
Locust
yeah.
USA and like right here with, right on the same level, right?
Yeah, no. Ultros, easy main quest for me. Again, you hear me not complaining. You hear me comparing it to games like Outer Wilds and Tunic, my game of the year from 2021 and my game of the year from 2022 or whatever, 2019 and 2021, whenever they came out. Like, these are my favorite games ever. So obviously this one hit. It will definitely become one of my like top 5 gated exploration games for sure. And as of now, it is my front runner for game of the year for 2024. Obviously, we're only in February, so that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved every second of it. I couldn't get enough. I ended up doing literally everything that you could. I 100% explored the map. I got all the like hidden collectibles and story bits and things like that. I really sort of, rinsed every drop of Ultros out of the game that I could. So loved it quite a bit. Highly recommended to pretty much everyone.
Yeah, it sounds like you just devoured it pretty much, right?
I did. And what's funny?
Yeah.
I will say this seems to be like a common thread for people in games that I really like Outer Wilds. I've heard from a lot of people, and I kind of felt this, but not nearly as much as I've heard some other people talk about, where it's almost like the beginning of this game has kind of a learning curve, or like it's a little hard to start. Like, you hear people talk about Outer Wilds and they're like doing a couple loops and they're talking about how the ship controls aren't really jiving with them, and they're not really like the hooks haven't gotten into them yet. I've heard people say that about this game, and I would say, within your tolerance of fun, try to push through, because it just keeps getting cooler and better and rewarding you as the game goes on. Mm-hmm. And I hate for people to miss that. That said, of course, you're not having fun. You don't have to force yourself. Games are not work. They're not chores. You can bounce off if you want to, but
yeah, I brought like Zelda Breakout. Josh brought Poker Mania, and then you have like systems and seas and time loops and hidden mechanics. So it's like, if you don't want straight out of the gate fun, maybe there's a little work game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
I like that 100%.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the games that are Steve vibes are those games where you need to, like, Witness is the same thing. You need to like kind of push a little bit to get going, but once you get going, it's really going, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that. That's true of a lot of my favorite indies, but the only one that's not the case for is Sayonara Wild Hearts. That's a banger from moment one. So yeah. Highly
I could
recommend
have
it.
brought
Everyone go check out
The
Ultros.
Witness to my favorite game too. I love The Witness. But I love puzzle games.
Hey.
That's
yeah.
That's such a strong puzzle game.
Yeah.
Oh, so he did play a game that Steve's heard of.
Yeah.
Awesome.
First time ever, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, first time tonight.
Presumably, Potomax has also played Baba Is You, because
Yeah.
you've also played a bunch of games from that same creator that I've never heard of. So
Yeah, I did not finish Baba Is You. There's I was stuck on a level where I understood all the steps, but there was like 50 different steps, and I was like, okay, I'm at the point where beating the level is just too tedious. But like that first like 20-ish hours of beating the puzzles is so good.
the exact same thing happened to me. I don't even remember how far it was in, maybe like half or 2/3 of the way through the game, and at some point they started asking enough of me where I was like, if I can do this, it will take literally all the brain power that I have. And so I'm too sleepy to progress, but I loved what I played so far. I'm looking at Josh. Have we never brought Baba Is You to the quest log?
Well, I haven't played this game. I have never played that game. I'm not gonna lie. I never have. I've seen, like, I know what it is, and I just never have tried it. So
it's so good. I actually was looking at my game of the year lists from previous years the other year, and I forget what year it came out. It's like 2018, 2019, somewhere in there.
I don't know.
2018, I think. Yeah, 18 or 19. Yeah, it's before 2020.
Whatever, yeah. Okay, so 2018, let's say. I was looking at it, and it was the same year that Apex Legends came out, and I put Apex Legends above Baba Is You, and now I look back on them like, what the hell were you doing, man? What an absolute terrible... That take aged poorly. I love... Apex is a great game, but it's like, I was obviously in the honeymoon period, because no shot is that game better than Baba Is You. Anyways, we'll bring Baba Is You another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it another day. Yeah. Maybe we should have Potomax back to talk about Baba Is You someday. You never know.
There we go. If we didn't scare you off.
Focus Baba Is You episode. Like, we can all bring something different. There's so many discoveries in this game.
I'll be down for that. Yeah. Pencil that in the future.
Sorry, I'm just adding plans to your podcast.
No. We kind of go. We almost go episode to episode. Sometimes we're like, oh, what do you want to do next time? Okay, So we're chill.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So we brought 3 games today. We got Locust USA, which was a side quest from Potomax. We got Balatro from me, which was a main quest, and then we got Ultros, which seems like the most main quest of them all today, from Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Balatro, People that know me and know my sensibilities will know how excited to be about that. So,
I mean, we had a lot of variety today, which is really cool. So I always like that.
Yeah, there's a little something for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. So we're about to wrap up the show today. So what we do is we go around and we do plugs. Thank you for hanging out with us, listening to this show. You can find the show at IndieQuest Pod on Twitter, or send us an email at IndieQuestPod@gmail.com. Well, I'll go ahead and throw it over to our guest. Where can they find you on the interwebs today?
Yeah, well, if you want to play some of my games, I'm on itch.io, at potomax.itch.io. If you want to talk to me, I'm Potomax everywhere. And if you speak French, I have a French channel called Des Jeux Pis de la Bière. Yeah, a bit of French out there. So I talk about indie random games that I like. So yeah, I'm a bit everywhere. Search Potomax, you'll find something that you'll like, I'm sure. What about you, Steve?
Hopefully by now they know where to find me, but you can find me Twitter and Twitch as Blinkoom. It's Blink OOM. M like Max Poto. What about you, Josh?
You can find me on Twitter at Frantic Society. You can also find more awesome shows in our network, the Polymedia Network, which also has a Patreon, which the captain would talk about if he was here. So best place on the internet. Go to what does he always say? He says go type in Polykill and Patreon. Let me see if I could do it, Captain. Type in Polykill and Patreon. Is that a good Captain Drachma? I don't know if I even changed my voice there at all, honestly.
Spot
on. Okay, perfect. And then you can find the Patreon, which is awesome. Which is where we found and met Potomax, which is awesome. What's a show on the network that you listen to, Potomax, that you like, that you want to shout out here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the OG Polykill. So it's a funny podcast. I like hearing about all the games that I'm not playing. And if you want to hear a bit more about my silly beats, Steve is always picking on me in the beat sheet, in the beat tweet. So always a good time being made fun of. What's your pick?
Now I feel bad.
Yeah. No, I like it. I laugh a lot.
That's good because I'm not going to stop. So I'm glad that you enjoy it. I can't resist a little slop from time to time. All right, it's too interesting.
Yeah, well, yes. I make it easy on you for you.
That's very true. Thank you for that. Another show you can go check out. You know what? If you've listened to IndieQuest, you probably listened to a couple other shows on the network. Probably you've heard Drunk Friend. But if not, you should go check out Drunk Friend. Very cool show with Trav, my co-host on Polykill, and Alex SNES Drunk of the SNES Drunk YouTube channel. They talk about all sorts of things. They build lists. They bring on guests to talk about various things. Their vibe is just kind of like guests that are really good at something. Sometimes they rate chicken sandwiches. Sometimes they just list guys from baseball teams in the 80s and 90s. It's a good time every time. But their latest episode with Kelsey Polnick, which is all about someone who's trying to beat every TurboGrafx game, was like particularly in my wheelhouse because it almost feels like a guest that could have been on Polykill. You know, I actually made fun of Trav. I was like, you literally brought someone on whose whole goal is to beat every game in the system's library, and you didn't choose the podcast about beating video games as the place to put them? Whatever. But it was a good interview, and I'm still only a little mad at Trav, so you can go listen to that on the Drunk Friend feed.
I say go check out Tales of the Lesser Medium. It's been a little bit since they put an episode out, but they will turn the silliest video game stories into even sillier, funnier video game stories somehow. It's just really funny to hear how Caleb and Trap break down these stories, and you will definitely... I laugh so hard listening to these shows. So, I mean, I'm not just... I don't think Travis listens to IndieQuest far enough to hear me compliment him here, but that show is funny. So, there we go.
Got him.
You should check it out if you haven't. But, yeah. I guess I can put Potomax on the spot again. I've been doing that this entire episode. So, why don't you... If you have anything to say to our listeners here, throw out some awesome positive words for them.
For having me on the show. It's very, very fun just chatting with you guys all the time. And I hope everyone had a great day, and hope that everything just goes right in your life. And maybe you just need a little bit of flowers in your life. Go to sleep, and then anything can happen.
Beautiful.
The cheesiest ending.
No, it was great.